very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Radio 1 FM 90, which is broadcasting from the Central Building here in the home of, which is the home of this radio station. But we're also live on our website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. On that website, you click on the icon with the word Listen Live. Now, this radio station is also live on the different radio listening apps, TuneIn, AfroMobile, your TV channel, Radio Garden, and Stream Africa. Those can be obtained from the Google stores of smartphone. But we're also live on DSTV, where our audio channel is 897. Today, we'll be looking at the ongoing dynamics within the FDC party and the decision by the Katonga group to seek for a new political home. Well, the FDC has been in news for quite some time until yesterday when we saw a group of members who are from the Katonga group going to the Electoral Commission to reserve a name of a new political entity that they want to belong to. The processes there, according to Electoral Commission, will go on, and then it will be decided whether that name they want to reserve has not been taken up by anybody, and if not, within 60 days, they are likely to have a new political party and under which they will belong as we prepare for the 2026 general elections. But also on the other side, they want the FDC party dissolved. And to push forward this agenda, they have actually announced in the newspaper, the chairman, who is from the Katonga group, Waswa Birigwa, ambassador, has announced in the newspapers, issued a notice for the dissolution of the FDC party. Now, this has rubbed the other group, which is at Najana Nkumbi, the wrong way, and they insist that the Katonga group have no right to actually take that kind of action. Some other people have actually weighed in, and they're wondering why the people from the Katonga group would want to kill off the FDC as opposed to only moving on and forming their own political entity. So today we have a discussion around that issue, and I have two guests in studio. The Honorable Proscovia Salamu Sumba did serve as an MP, did serve as chairperson of Kamuli District, but also did serve as the vice president of the FDC, as the first president of FDC, a founder member of the FDC. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I want you to put my credentials right, so that when you position me in the discussion I'm having, people understand.
Well, loud and clear.
Yes.
If you can state your credentials again.
Well, I'm a founder member of Forum for Democratic Change.
Founder member.
And I am the first chair who was also president of the FDC. I led the FDC to the first delegates conference. I led the team that went to Krugersdorp
in South Africa.
To have the first National Executive Committee meeting on formation. I was there in Bonita 1, Bonita 2. I'm still here. I was Member of Parliament for Kabla County South. I was Chairman, Kamuli District. And I'm still the Vice Chair, Forum for Democratic Change.
Vice Chair, Vice President?
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Also in studio, Mr. Robert Centenary. He is the Vice Chair of the FDC, that is the Najana Nkumbi faction in charge of Western Region, but he also did serve as Kasese Municipality MP. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, our listeners. Radio 1, thanks for hosting us.
You look so humble today.
As always.
All right. Well, gentlemen and lady, maybe let's begin with one of the things that is very current in the news. You all served in Parliament. There is a sitting that is going on in Gulu. It has happened today. Tomorrow there will be a sitting, and also on Friday there will be a sitting. And there's been a debate going on about whether this is a right thing to be done. Today, the Speaker, Anita Among, who happened to be your colleague, having been part of the FDC, saying that those opposed to the idea of regional sittings of Parliament are the enemies of the people. Let's begin by getting your views on that thing. And I'll begin with you, Honorable Robert Centenary. Taking Parliament to the people.
Personally, from the explanation I had in the Speaker's remarks, that the budget they were using is their inland travel budget. Therefore, whoever was trying to discredit the regional sittings on account of spending taxpayers' money whether the parliament sits in Gulu or not, that money was still going to be spent on inland travels. I'm looking at it at the local economy. I'll compare it to when we hosted the Renzori Marathon in Kasese. We had over 3,000 people coming to Kasese municipality, and they were spending money, food, accommodation, transport, and all the things. So the local economy of Kasese did not remain the same in that respect. Similarly, when those members of parliament are in northern Uganda, the local economy will not remain the same. For me, as a person, I'm opposed to centralizing everything here in the capital. People need to feel government, even in the periphery. I'm one of the proponents of, actually, if they decided to put some departments in, let's say, for mining, Ministry of Mining and whatever, they put it like in Kasese where we have copper and all that. They give us another Ministry of Tourism so that somebody also travels from Kampala to go to Kasese to receive those services, as well as the person comes from Kasese to come to Kampala to receive those services. Then we are now evenly distributing the national cake.
All right.
But secondly, there are members of parliament who are in that house. They have never spoken a single word, apart from maybe their maiden speech or when they are voice voting. So when the parliament is brought to the people, the voters get to know the capabilities, the legislative capabilities of the people that they sent to come and represent them in parliament. So for me, I would look at it on those two aspects.
All right, let's hear from the Honorable Salam Busuma.
Yes, thank you very much. They call it an innovation. That's what they said. That is innovation. And I'm yet to see whether a tent is the innovation, whether it's the plenary arrangement.
It's the first time Parliament is sitting in a region.
You still must maintain the decorum, the tradition, the norms, and the character of the thing they call a parliament. It's the only institution we have, and therefore its honor, its integrity must be maintained as such. This is not a local council thing that you're having. This is serious business,
And indeed, there was serious business in Ikulu.
I'll tell you something. There are 500 people. Each of them was asked to introduce themselves, give each a minute, do the maths, 500 minutes.
They took about 2 hours.
Do the maths. So, what was in addition to it? Okay, I want to take it as an innovation. It would have been an innovation because Northern Uganda is not just Gulu. They have made Northern Uganda look like Gulu is Northern Uganda. You have the entire Lango, the entire Acholi, the entire West Nile. At times, the entire Karamoja is defined as Northern. If it was me to advise, I would have advised that all the councillors in the districts where they have taken the parliament to the people, the minimum to touch base would have been for them to have the councillors as the strangers in the strangers gallery, so that they can follow, they can track. But if they watched on TV like the rest of us, then Gulu only becomes a crime scene, an expenditure point. Nothing else. Nothing else. If the agenda was to discuss issues of Northern Uganda, then all the committees should have been there to offer accountability on the things that have happened. I'm reminded of Young Parliamentary Association. Back then, when we used to go around the country at our own expense to meet the people. And I'm wondering, I'm juxtaposing it and wondering, is this equal to YPA? Or is this really anything worth talking about? Because even in the gallery, I did not see any person of Gulu.
There was
district.
Archbishop Odama was there with some religious leaders from the north.
They were in the gallery?
They were in the strangers gallery. And they were seated there. There were also other people, other leaders from
Because it should have been structured in such a way. Because Bishop Odama, Archbishop Odama, as a retired Archbishop, and all the other religious leaders of the Interreligious Council should have been there with some form of encounter, not present objects. Okay? You don't objectize people for accountability. So
you would have wanted them to speak in the...
I would have wanted an engagement. Maybe committee work, because I saw tables behind where members, after introducing themselves, they went behind to have a conversation.
Well, today the debate was guided by a report of the Fiscal Infrastructure Committee, which focused a lot on the infrastructure, on the state of the infrastructure in northern Uganda.
Yes.
And don't you think that is sufficient?
No, it's not.
That the House was focusing on issues in northern Uganda?
Uganda has real serious issues. It has the youth issue. It has the poverty issue. I'm sure that the Prime Minister should have been the first to make a presentation on an analysis of what is the state of affairs in northern Uganda, region by region, West Nile, Acholi, and Lango. Okay? So that people can see themselves in what is being discussed.
All right.
And so I think it needed more flavor, it needed more design, but also the attitude of the speaker. I had expected that after you've kissed His Holiness the Pope's ring, you come back with a washed mouth.
What do you mean?
You are less combative to people, okay? And that you reach out more to people, because that's what a visit to His Holiness the Pope is supposed to be.
What did he?
It's not just an encounter that you take pictures and then come home. It's supposed to transform you, the software in you inside. As soon as you return, you go back to your old ways. Surely. Well, I'm beginning to doubt some things.
Well, all right. We'll dig deep on that discussion some other time. But now let's focus on issues FDC. And I'll stay with you, Honorable Salam Musumba, because you are the ones who are latest in the news with your decision to actually form a new political entity. How did you come to this? Why are we moving into this?
You see, it's almost a year now since we were physically thrown out of Najanankumbi, a place that we set up, a place that we bought, and a place that we made our home. We were the first party to have a home, and we were so proud of that. And so our address was Najanankumbi until last year. Almost a year now, 19th September, was the epitome of the chasing. You do recall that we were hounded out of Najanankumbi. The chairman had to jump over a fence. We have been, Chifesi were beginning to be part of our meetings of NEC. And finally, when we chose to have a delegates conference, as provided for in the Constitution, then the NRM lent every machinery, vicious machinery of state security, to obstruct us. And so it was very, very clear in our minds that our party had finally been taken over by the NRM, by the executive, which had already threatened that by 2026 there will be no political party. So when we were finally physically thrown out, because we didn't just opt out, we were physically thrown out, and there were names at the gate of who was not supposed to come in and who would come in, and of all things, the chairman of the party was the target. You know, I have since heard of acid plans. I have since heard of poison plans. I have since heard of all things that I would never have ever imagined. So when we were thrown out there, we retreated to Katonga, because Katonga was set up by Najanankumbi. That's why you had one day they came back and said, we have closed operations in Katonga. They themselves And so, if they had seized, that did not seize us. And so we went on to operate as provided for in our constitution, because the Delegates Conference of 19th September 2023 extended the term of office of the present leadership, and so we have been and we continue to be legitimately as provided for by our constitution. By the way, I know that constitution very, very well because we made it.
Where is your legitimacy?
Our legitimacy is that
because
listen to me.
What people there out know is that Patrick Amriat Opoy is the elected FDC president.
They don't know then. Allow me to let them know. Because in that party, the highest organ of the party is called the National Delegates Conference. The National Delegates Conference is what chooses the leaders and is the final body, the final organ of a party. That organ is chaired by a chairman called Ambassador Birikwa. So, if you think that Amriat Opoy was elected, who chaired that meeting? The one that elected him. Because the first one that elected him, the last time in 2017, it was chaired by the chairman. So this one was chaired by who? The one which he alleges, he masquerades as having elected. Who chaired it?
There's a deputy chairperson of the FDC who chaired that.
That is the difference. In English is a very... Listen to me. Until the chairman gives you authority, you cannot serve in his capacity.
Okay.
You must get authority. Otherwise, I can come here and tell you that I'm the chairman. I'm not. I'm only a vice chair.
What about if the chairman absconds from duty?
How does that happen? Let me ask, how does that happen? You know, the crookery and the political thuggery that they introduced in this party is what hurts me most. The thuggery that was introduced by power into a party in which we invested all the best practices, all the social capital, all the public goodwill. You know, this guy just throws it into the wind.
But you have not also done well, because as you leave FDC, you actually want to kill it.
Am I unconstitutional?
You want to kill your child?
No, we are not killing a child. We are retiring a period in our history that we do not want to be adulterated. We want to preserve this history of ours. We don't want to be like NRM. I mean, do you know anything about Dalwero War? Do you know who was involved in it? You have no clue.
Literature.
Where is it?
Which can be read.
There is no public record. There is no public record in a war where 500,000 people died, perished. There is no. I'll tell you, go to Parliament. You used to live in Parliament. Don't you see?
I used to read Parliament.
You used to live there because you loiter all over the lobby.
No,
didn't you see?
I used to go
Listen
to Parliament and return.
Did you mean you saw nothing? There is an entire list of World War I and World War II people.
Yes, there is.
This one died in Burma, this one died in India, this one died where? It is there, it is a public record. Where is the public record of the Luwero Triangle? Where is the public record of the war in northern Uganda? We don't want our party in which people lost lives, in which people are maimed, in which people have broken bonds, lost opportunity. We won't allow it to be adulterated, to be turned into a mobile bar and a brothel. We want to preserve that history in which we have all contributed, and in any case, we are acting legally. Because we foresaw that at formation. The framers of our constitution knew that we could hit bad weather, and so they provided for dissolution.
All right.
And you can't challenge that.
All right.
Because dissolution is Article 36 of the FDC Constitution.
All right. Let's hear from the Najana Nkumbi Group, Honorable Robert Centenary. You had it there. These people are the legitimately recognized leaders of the FDC by virtue of having the legitimate chairperson of the party, and therefore whatever they're doing is within the constitution of FDC.
See, being a chairperson is not a permanent portfolio. You see, I'm very calm here. I was just listening and enjoying. Honorable Salam Musumba is the one who even read the resolutions of the last National Council, which they chaired in Najana Nkumbi, which was chaired by Ambassador Virigwa, clearing the elections of the districts which had conducted elections. It's okay, and those that had not yet conducted can go ahead and conduct elections. But that notwithstanding, Article 36 provides for dissolution, but it also provides for the process that should be undergone for a dissolution to take place. And it also provides for who constitutes the decorum, the locus, to dissolve a party. It talks about resolutions from 2/3 of the districts in Uganda. Now one asks, maybe the meeting the district conference took place in Kamuli, I don't know. The one, and to be, at least I've been following their
activities,
their consultations. Dissolution is not even one of the things that they mentioned when they were reaching out to the citizens in the country.
Well, the citizens sent representatives at Katonga in the recent...
But the Constitution, Article 36 says
that delegates conference,
the resolutions must come from the district conferences, 2/3. They are sent
after notice has been issued.
No, the notice will be issued after the resolution has been taken. When a position has been taken, that now finally we have resolved that a dissolution should happen. Then a notice is put in the Gazette. Doesn't come, like backwards.
Listen to me. The procedure
is
defining for himself. It's not defined in the...
What does the
you
Constitution
can read it if you have the Constitution. Read it verbatim. It will say 2/3 the district councils must make a resolution. Those are how many? 2/3 of Uganda's districts. We have too many. I've even lost track of how many districts we have.
But in the meantime, I'm seeing you being quoted. You're happy that they are leaving.
Yeah, you see.
The same way you were happy when Gregory Mugisha Muntu left with another group.
Actually, it was very sad.
And now many of you actually want to apologize.
On General Muntu's team, by the way. And it was very sad that departure took place. And it's unfortunate also that we never learned from our lessons that led to the departure of General Muntu. It is the same thing our friends are doing, a departure, but theirs is a hostile departure because they want to kill that baby, the 20-year-old child that they gave birth, nurtured, groomed, and then they are saying they are preserving. What kind of preservation? Unless you want to tell me you're preserving the way they preserve these dead bodies.
You say they are frozen embryos. Do you know about frozen embryos?
I would not even imagine that somebody who suffered to bring up the FDC, it is a political party that is well grounded in this country, would think and imagine about killing and burying it. General Muntu left, he never even proposed that ridiculous idea of killing FDC. If you are not comfortable in the FDC because of power, be patient. He's serving his last term. He has about three years to live.
All right.
Come and replace him. And the party moves on. Why would you kill a party because of an individual who is even immortal, by the way?
All right. Let's go for a break now. When we return, Honorable Salam Sumba has pulled out the FDC constitution about that process of actually dissolution. But we also want to look at the new entity that the Katonga group is coming out with. They went to the Electoral Commission yesterday and asked that a name, People's Front for Freedom, be reserved. The slogan for that political party would be freedom for all for freedom. Their symbols will be a fawn, and then the colors will be white and royal blue. Will this political party bring any traction to the Katonga group, and will this change fundamentally the support base of the FDC by eating away from its support base? Now, stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90 will continue, but keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90. We are looking at the dynamics inside the FDC political party with the Katonga group deciding to look for a new political home. On this show, the Honorable Salam Proskovia Musumba represents the Katonga group. He was one of the founding members. She is one of the founding members of the FDC and did serve at one point as its first president, chairperson, vice chairperson of the FDC, and also she was an MP and served as the chairperson of Kamali District. Also in studio, the Honorable Centenary Robert. He is the FDC Vice Chairperson in charge of Western Uganda, that is under the Najana Nkumbi Group. He also did serve as Kasese Municipality MP. Well, we have some comments coming in, and one of the comments that I have seen that has made runs on social media is a comment of the Honorable Betty Kamiaturomwe, who actually writes and says, it's a pity that FDC Katonga has decided to destroy FDC in the spirit of, if I can't have it, you won't have it either. Says it's such a mean, destructive spirit. If people who really started FDC while Besigye was in exile, like James Musinguzi, Augustine Ruzindana, Mugisha Muntu, etc., Winnie Byanyima, yours truly and others just walked away when things were not going according to our expectations. How can Dr. Besigye allow the Johnny came lately like Lukwago and the Birigwa to destroy a 20-year investment? Some of us contributed money to buy the FDC.
Why doesn't she talk about me?
Well, I don't know what she does.
If her party was full.
I was actually still submitting.
I'm going to come back to you. Let's get to a very quick response from her.
You see, her comments are uncalled for, but they are well noted. And they just fall in a very characteristic narrative that she has.
She's one of the founding members. You are with her shoulder.
Yes, she is, and I was the spokesperson. We were co-spokespersons of this party. And she would be glad to remember that in all this, there are people that have paid the price.
And fundamentally, she's saying they left quietly.
She didn't live
never
quietly.
Killed the baby.
She never lived. Even initially, why we had issues with her even in becoming a secretary general, is because of split loyalty. She walked to South Africa before even all this happened and went to negotiate with Dr. Besigye and asked that why don't we join Museveni?
Really?
She did. And so from the beginning, she has been half-hearted, quarter-hearted, you know? So she has no locus whatsoever because she didn't put in her all. She only put in bits to be available for purchase and see where she is. Please, don't make me say many things.
All right. You pulled out the Constitution, but I want Honorable Robert Centenary to conclude his points, and then we'll come back and see what the Constitution says, because you said he was quoting a wrong Constitution.
No.
Centenary.
He hasn't.
He's not well acquainted with it.
Wrong procedure.
When you're looking, I've had people pointing fingers at people who are trying to give Museveni a free pass. If you propose that a 20-year-old political party that has over 30 members of parliament, chairman, LC5, well-grounded in the country, should be dissolved to pave way for a new entity that you're not even sure will be registered because the process is quite tedious, considering the lapse of time, who else would be working for the regime? I remember when we had just concluded the 2016 election, there was a proposal still that came from Katonga that we should not swear into office. And literally that meant that they were going to declare the people who had contested with the first run-up. It would mean that by that time we would not have any representation in parliament. Even the Lord Mayor now wouldn't be a Lord Mayor. I don't know what happened.
Well, you'll be sending a signal that you were not happy with the outcomes of the elections. Pragmatism.
Why did the person proposed that because, and I've been putting, taking inventory of events, trying to understand why would somebody bring up such a kind of ridiculous proposals. My affirmation came on the 19th during that delegates conference. Now, as she quotes the Constitution, I'll give an example of the delegates, the so-called delegates.
Very quickly.
Who came from Kasese. They have never been delegates at all, even before or even in the current election that we held. But they made a resolution which, according to them, is supposed to be binding to the party. I also wonder where those resolutions are going to be implemented.
All right. Let's hear from her, based on the Constitution that she wants to quote. What argument would you make? Because Honorable Centenary here still insists that you are in the wrong, Honorable Salam Musumba.
We'll see about that in due time. This is what, first of all, people must understand. This is not something we made up yesterday. This has been part and parcel of this Constitution since formation.
Yes.
And this article says dissolution.
That's Article 36.
The National Delegates Conference or the Special Conference may dissolve the party by 2/3 majority of all delegates of the National Delegates Conference and transfer the assets and liabilities of the party. There must be a notice of at least 6 months. There must be a resolution from 2/3 of the district's conferences. To who? To the delegates conference.
The notice.
To the delegates conference. The resolution must be supported by at least 80% of the attendance of the delegates conference.
So what comes first from that explanation? Because I told him there was a notice in the newspaper.
What comes first is 1. What comes next is 2. What comes next is 3. And what comes last is 4.
So do you have the resolutions from the 2/3 of the districts to the delegates conference?
1, 2, 3, 4.
To the delegates conference.
All right. I'll read one from Article 36. 1 says the National Delegates Conference or the Special Conference may dissolve the party by 2/3 majority of all delegates of the National Delegates Conference and transfer the assets and liabilities of the party. Have we had the National Delegates Conference of Salam Musumba?
It is
what you had in Katonga.
No. It is going to be the notice. It will follow the notice.
Okay. There must be a notice of at least 6 months.
Correct.
There must be a resolution from 2/3 of the district conferences.
Yes.
So after the notice, the district conferences will sit.
Correct.
All right. The resolution must be supported by at least 80% of the attendance of the delegates conference. Well, there you have it, Honorable Centenary.
He's creating his own.
80% of the delegates.
Just give me my book.
That is the true account of it.
Yeah.
So the notice comes.
What happened on 19th? And again, logically, today you are acting as FDC, and tomorrow you are booking a name to form PPF. Whatever.
Well, there's a new name. They call it People's Front for Freedom, PFF.
Exactly. So you're acting as who now? If you are Salam, the vice chairperson of FDC.
All right, she's around to answer your question.
And you are Salam, the founder member of PFF. Where is the title should they
do you see my name here?
Your name is not here.
Correct.
I haven't seen your name. This group was led by Honorable Aflao Good.
Correct.
And one of the other historical members, people that I can easily notice from this list, there's Honorable Oduman Charles Okello. And then there's
Stanley Katembe.
And all these who are in the delegates conference of 19.
I was.
Yes. So even if you are not on this list.
I'm not on there.
But your heart, body, and soul is there.
Correct.
And actually,
so deal with me.
You are part of it.
Deal with me.
So now,
deal with
that's
me.
why I was asking, what should the Ugandans address you as vice chairperson of FDC?
You see, when you give notice of 6 months, that is a privileged position that you are still part of what you are dissolving. You cannot dissolve what you are not part of.
All right.
And therefore, I am part of what I'm dissolving. Tactfully to achieve that. Thank you.
Now, Honorable Salam Musumba, like Honorable Centenary said that some people might say it's political suicide to wind down something that has been in place 20 years.
Why wasn't it suicide when we were forming and we faced all the terror? And listen to me. When we faced all the terror machinery, why wasn't it suicidal? If it was suicidal, then let it be suicidal now. Balance the suicide.
To kill it.
Make yours.
You should be crying for your baby.
Please make yours.
It is not your person to hold.
It is not.
This is not person
It is
to
not.
hold.
But if you think it is easy, if you think it's the only thing that some people are crying about, it's not even the reasons why we set up the party. Because we set up the party to cause democratic change. But if we can't have even democratic change in the party, what is left of it?
These ones are the ones
I'll tell you something.
defiling the democratic processes of the FDC.
Let me tell you.
You can see even in their resolution, they are giving Lukwago, their chairman, to appoint members of NEC. Where have we ever seen that?
Their chairman
but we have done so. The chairman is Waswabirigwa. Yes,
and let
me tell you.
Of 19th, they gave him powers to appoint
like we have given others.
Anyway,
we have given others too.
I am happy.
Let's listen to one another.
They are dissolving their Katonga faction.
All right.
I am happy they are written a note.
Let me tell you.
Let them dissolve as they wish.
And I wanted to ask you, Honorable Salam Musumba, what's in the name People's Front for Freedom? Why that name?
Exactly that. It's the people that are hunting for freedom, not slavery. Because now we are all slaves. We don't have ownership. We don't have citizenship. We don't have identity. We are just a pack of people who one day they call voters, another day they call my people, another day they call anything. Citizenship is such an honor because there are people who are stateless, citizenshipless. They have no home. So for us as freedom hunters, you can't even have democracy when you don't have freedom. So we are hunting for freedom because of the state capture that has happened. And for us, it's a double tragedy. We have even party capture. We are running away from total capture. Okay? We are breaking loose and we are saying, guys, do you see what we see? Should we continue with this situation? I mean, if they can steal a party from us of 20 years and use agents like him,
then how will you capture the nation and offer freedom to Uganda?
We are going to fight for it.
You can't recapture a party.
That is why
you opt to kill it.
No, we are. You have no reason even to laugh. You should be crying. Because the people who have... Listen, it's not comedy at all. Let me tell you something. If people can tell you that we are in comedy with so many lives lost, they call it comedy. You know? They don't even see, because they're earning from that comedy the death of so many people along the way. They will not even stop to acknowledge that this thing we set up by defiance. By the way, we set up this party by defiance. We went through all the hardships, all the terrors that they can laugh about it and say it is comedy. We must stop that comedy. Let us retire this party. Let us keep it in as a frozen embryo for posterity to know that there was a fighting group called Forum for Democratic Change. It reached an extent where they could not achieve their goals through the procedures they had set up themselves, and they dissolved themselves. Thank you very much.
All right, now let's get some feedback coming in from the listeners. Comments coming in. Benon Fred Winamasko writes in about the earlier discussion we had about Parliament. He says the Parliament has always been live, has always been to the people because it has been live on YouTube and UBC TV. The fact that money is normally appropriated and its real purpose has to be concocted later on is the reason we have potholes in Kampala City. About FDC dissolution, I support the idea because the Danjana Nkumbi did not opt to strengthen the party and take power, but to continue milking the Electoral Commission and iPod money. And the idea that they need to erase party historicals will be as good as erasing the party itself. We have another comment. Tell Honorable Salam Musumba that I love her. One of the few fiercest women we have in Uganda. She says it as it is. That's a comment from Julie. Najana Nkumbi faction has been saying they are the legitimate group Why are they worried about the dissolution of the party? What is the implication of the dissolution to the Najana Nkumbi faction? Amo Martin Rising from Bali. Honorable Centenary, are you and your team ready to share the assets and liabilities of FDC with the Katonga team? That's a question for you. Another comment, Dr. Kiza Besije, Lukwago, and Honorable Salam Sumba are among the most selfish politicians in Uganda. They are largely the reason why political parties have failed to come together and defeat NRM. Let all the sundry know that Besige and his group are working for Museveni. Musumba is a shell-faced liar and will make all sorts of allegations and innuendos. That's a comment from Apollo K there. We have another comment, contention and antagonism and the constant vicious cycle of attacking each other are enemies to peaceful and greedy ambitions. Dishonesty are the results of stupid genius. Henry Risina said, FDC is the embryo in the NRM fridge. Then we have another comment. My problem is people not being well versed with the Bible, especially the Solomon's case. Now the case was money. Why do Najana Nkumbi group ask for reconciliation? One party said there was money, another says, let's reconcile. We do not reconcile different subjects. We reconcile differences in one subject. Was there money or not? That's a comment from Henry Kiwenda. Henry Kiwenda references the Bible story where Solomon had to decide a dispute between two women who were all claiming a baby. And one of the women said, kill the baby. The other one said, do you see any spare. Solomon here? Well, the Solomon... I mean, if they hound you, you might end up in court where there will be Solomon. Fine, to judge. Let's meet anyway, any day. And some people have been actually saying, you represent the woman who said, kill that baby now. That's okay. Let me tell you about the Basoga saying. They say if dogs are fighting, you remove what is causing the fight so that the dogs can have peace. Otola waitiba. What if the dogs bite you? They will in the process of Oktola waitiba. Oktola waitiba. Dog to dog. Anyway, my question, there was a question addressed to me, whether we're going to share the assets and liabilities. FDC is not going anywhere. It will remain. We shall live and we shall die. Other people will come and take over the leadership of the FDC. So whoever thinks about sharing assets and liquidating FDC is just a dead dreamer. That will never happen. Yeah, they have the state on their side. So when they say so, with it will never happen. It will. If we follow the constitution, there is no constitution. For you, you're quoting the right law for the wrong cause. No, there is a trajectory in this. No. And it will unravel all the fraud that has happened, political fraud, all the technical fraud that has happened. This, I'm itching, I'm waiting, I want to see all these jargons, all these legal things, because they help us to expose what we must expose. Let's allow her to conclude. And you see, he's so impatient, I don't understand why. Because we want to expose to the country the biggest governance dilemma we face. You see? It begins with FDC. It will begin with FDC. Listen, it will begin with FDC. We have allowed ourselves to be that laboratory in which you test every event possible for posterity to learn. Because let me tell you, there's nothing as painful. I did not know what betrayal, the pain of betrayal, what it sounds like, until I look into the eye of some of these people and I say, I could have been poisoned. You mean this is what we were taking to Uganda? You mean this is who these guys are? Do you know the pain that you've worked with people for 20 years and they're just revealing who they are to you now? Well, the other side is also saying listen, the viciousness, let me tell you, I'm writing a book. You're writing a book? I'm writing a book, and mine is called Witness. I want Ugandans, especially women, to understand some of these processes and how people can use processes, goodwill,
to turn it into a vulgar character that you cannot even understand.
You're describing opportunists, something like that.
No. It's beyond that.
Okay.
It's beyond that. So I would want to offer ourselves as and what has happened to us, because when you look at DP, for instance, actually we are informed by DP and UPC and what has happened to them. Would you know where DP started from and what his 60-year journey has been? Apart from Kawanga, do you remember any name? UPC likewise. The entire profile is dumped. And for us, looking at that, we say, no, there's so much history that we will not allow to be adulterated.
All right.
Let us retire this, because we too are going to miss what we built.
All right. Honorable Centenary, how is FDC responding to this on the ground? On the ground, what are you doing? Because there must be some disruptions already.
I wish they had shared that crazy resolution of dissolving FDC with the people they went to meet out there in the various districts where they went for consultations.
They did. For instance, here in Kampala, there was a meeting in Honorable Ibrahim Semojo's Nganda's constituency, and the resolution passed there was they should form a new political party.
I'm talking about forming a new political party is not a problem, because they are not the first ones who will form one. But dissolving and liquidating is what I'm talking about.
So how are you responding on the ground?
On the ground there, people are very bitter, actually. If our friends knew
we will meet them
the
there.
consequence of that
there.
resolution, they would not even dare.
How can't we dare when we formed the party?
FDC people who are beaten, maimed, bruised, imprisoned, that now they are killing their party and burying it.
We are preserving our party.
I can tell you,
we
some people will not come back with their heads.
We will. Tell me where. Tell me where.
To Kasese.
No, I'm coming to Kasese.
Because even Mate, the former chairman of the FDC, Mate, whom they have been fronting, every time they have their so-called meeting.
There's an old man.
Yes, he said.
Very vibrant.
That old man. On 19th, he told them, guys, I'm not with you on that one.
When?
19th.
But I saw him. I saw him at Katonga.
He came and disagreed.
I saw him at Katonga.
Yes, he was there.
He was even among those who were dancing.
And who even seconded the motion?
And that is where he said, I am not part of the team
he's
that
lying.
is going to dissolve
what you do,
the FDC.
What you do, you can replay that.
Going forward,
yes.
What are you going to be doing as you wait for this People's Front for Freedom to be registered?
We'll be meeting the people again as we make them at formation and as we met them for consultation. We want to be doing what technically is called a whispering campaign. We will be out there preparing, and we will be listening to people because we have to listen to people too. But I'll tell you, the calls I've gotten, people have said we are not stranded anymore because we've been wondering where do we go in this confusion. And so we've provided an answer to them, and we will wait and see. The rest of the business will be watched by you. Uganda doesn't end tomorrow. Uganda doesn't end with FDC. FDC was formed we are forming another. We are closing it like nobody has ever dared to close theirs. We dare to do so.
And the question is, as you're closing, who are you?
You don't know who I am.
She said she's a legitimate member of
I'm a founder member. You see, these guys don't even have a membership register. We will have to go back and bring to them a 002.
You know, what is killing political parties in Uganda is that high sense of entitlement.
And I am entitled.
Now, this is
I am entitled.
Why were furthest away from
I am entitled.
If you're entitled.
I am entitled. Because you see,
FDC
the thugs you
provides for
the
equal
thugs you
membership.
became,
If
the
you look
thugs
at
you
that
became.
constitution,
All right, I'm afraid.
it does not talk about founder member. What it talks about a member.
All right, I'm afraid, honorable members, we have to bring
We'll
this
find out
discussion
very
to
soon.
a close. Good enough, you're all saying that you'll be going to the ground.
Yeah.
We'll be following to see what will be happening on
already
the ground.
on the
And
ground.
looking forward to hosting you to get a progress report on what you'll be doing.
We shall
Well,
wait.
thank you very much, dear listeners, for being part of this discussion. Up next, we have the news in English with Miss Josephine Dagano. Tomorrow, same time, another topic will be on air. From me and the guests in studio, it's a good night.
Thank you.